podcast. I'm Darbi.
I'm Kaitlin.
Well, we are on week 4 of a relationship series that we've been doing. We've been talking a lot about relationships in general. We focused on friendship the last couple of weeks. And so today we really want to talk about marriage or relationships that are significant in that way, dating, and even how that can affect your singleness if you're single also.
Yeah. Fun stuff. I love talking about love and relationships.
Me too.
Darbi, tell me a little bit about Mike. How long have you been married?
Yeah.
All those things.
Let's see. We've been married 17 years, almost 17 years in May. And so
That's a long time.
It feels long.
Wow.
It's like half our life.
That's a long
We've now
time.
been together.
Yeah, that's a long time.
I know. Almost as long as we weren't together, we've been together. Wow. Actually, we have, because we've been dating for 2 years before that. So we've now been together 19, and we were 19 when we met. So
good job.
We're 50-50 in.
Good job. You've made it so far. That's a long time.
I know. So yeah, there's that, and I would say we were in our small group. We're in a marriage co-ed small group, and we had gone around last week, and everyone was sharing their testimony of how God has performed a miracle in your life. And mine, and I'm sharing this because my miracle was, and I've seen a miracle in that God raised my dead marriage to life. A lot of times when we think about, have you seen something come back to life? We think about a dead person coming to life, but I think there are lots of things, and a lot of times it's our relationships that God raises from death to life. And as I've met with other couples going through things, I tell the women, hey, stop just praying that this changes. Start praying for resurrection power in this. You need your faith to resurrect, your courage to resurrect, and your marriage to be resurrected.
Wow. Yeah.
Such a different perspective when you look at it that way, because ultimately your marriage is a reflection of Jesus and the church. So the church is his bride. And I think when you can keep that eternal perspective, it totally changes how you might be praying for your spouse.
It totally does. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about you and Mason.
Okay, we've been married 7 years this April, which is a long time.
It's a good time. Yeah. That's 7's a good number.
It is a good number. A whole decade less than y'all. Whoa.
That's fair. You're a decade younger.
I know. Okay. All right. Fair. So 7 years, and we got married within a year of meeting each other. Just got to it real quick.
Yeah.
And it was great. And I it was like, it just was easy with Mason.
Yeah.
And it's always been easy being married to him. And it's so fun. I think people, I don't know, I feel like when people are with us or see us, I feel like they're always kind of scratching their head.
Yeah, y'all don't really make sense, but you
what?
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But hey, whoever thought of putting a pretzel and a chocolate together?
There are some weird things that really go together.
But it's the best thing ever, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mason and I, we are so different in so many ways.
Yeah.
And you and Mike are different too.
Yes.
In a lot of ways. I feel like Mike and I are a little more similar, and you and Mason are a little more similar.
I'm more like the man. We joke. I'm the man, and Mike is the woman. And so in every way, that's how we relate to couples. We meet another couple. Okay, you need to talk to him.
Yeah,
and
y'all sit over there,
Yeah.
and we'll sit over here.
Always.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Well, you always hear opposites attract. You always hear that, and that proved to be true for me. And I actually really love that about my relationship with Mason.
I think it's a natural instinct to know that you need something opposite of you.
You do. And I think you think, I need to find somebody that's like me, because if they're not like me, then what do we have in common? But, when the Lord brought us together, it's just so obvious that it was just from the Lord. But I now can look at our relationship and just really be thankful that we are different. Because like you said, when you kind of scope out your lens on your marriage and on your life, and you're like, okay, I'm trying to look at this with a eternal perspective. I'm really glad that we're different, because we can relate to people differently at the same time. We can minister to people differently at the same time, and so I always joke that I'm the sweet to Mason's sour, and he's the sour to my sweet. We just complement each other, and I love that. I do think that presents challenges.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That
can be hard sometimes. but it's probably one of my favorite things about us. And so, so talking about challenges and talking about being different, I think that, like I said, like I feel like our instinct is to find somebody that is similar to us because you have things in common and you do things differently and you think the same way. But when, if you're married to somebody who's different than you, it's okay to celebrate your differences.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I think about leading like a Bible study with Mason. Like I feel like we're a good team together because we operate so differently in the way that we speak, communicate, love, everything. So when it's, when you're doing it together, it's like your span is further, your reach is greater.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
And so I feel like that's always my goal, is to not try and make Mason more like me, but to just celebrate who he is, because like I knew when we got together, like we're two different people. We've come from two different lives. We've made different decisions. We've, we literally have different personalities, like to the nth degree. But I didn't marry him to make him more like me. Like I married him because I love who he is,
Yeah, yeah.
And so I feel like in a marriage and in a relationship, even in a friendship, like I feel like our goal should never be like, hey, become more like me, but hey, let's celebrate how we're different.
So what are some ways you practically do that when you and Mason maybe disagree or your differences are really
I would say, we talk about all the time here, but communication is like so essential. It is so paramount in a relationship. Yeah. We talk literally about everything. He knows where I stand on everything and vice versa. And so there is never something that I'm like, if I disagree, I'm going to let him know. And I try and be very intentional to keep my tone like this, like I'm talking now, because there's no reason to get all excited and emotional, though, that happens. But so we just talk about it. Like, hey, why would you think that was okay? Or why did you want to do this? And we literally tell me every reason why you thought you wanted to do it this way. And I'll let you know why I wanted to do it. And then like we've talked about too, like we are going to end up in peace after this conversation. So we talk it through.
That's good.
Through everything.
Yeah.
And there was a time when, when I worked at MASH, like I was with him every single day. And so when you enter into that, you're like, how is this going to go? We're going to spend a lot of time. Is it going to be good or is it going to be bad? And it honestly was like the sweetest time because we just got to, we talked about everything all day long. He included me in his decisions. He asked for my opinions, and we just kept that communication going. So I would say that's the first first thing to do when you have something different. Let's just talk it through. I don't need you to give me your bullet points and tell me why I'm wrong. Like, let's just have a normal conversation.
Yeah.
We're so quick to get so offended. But I just know, I've told Mason this, anytime we have a hurtful conversation, it's almost like, it's like a little bit of my heart has been ripped out. It just hurts. It does some damage. And it's you can't take words back. You can forgive them all day long and great. And you should. And we do. But why let it get to that point?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That Mike's so like that.
Yeah.
So I love to argue and I love conflicts. I feel so loved when Mike and I have really big conflicts because I'm like, wow, I just trusted you, told you all the things and you told me all the things and now it's all out there.
Yeah.
All the passion.
Yeah,
and he's that. I feel like I will never forget that you just said that. And he will not forget it, So I think it goes to your love language, right? Because yours is the affirmation and that's Mike's too. And so I think being aware of those things
totally
absolutely helps because what I've learned with feedback, and I'm using that word just because it's in my head, but if it's something hard you have to say, if it feels like it's going to be kind of a negative conversation.
Yeah.
I think what's important is feedback is easily received if your love tank is full.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
That's because right. I think in any relationship, wherever it is, if it's a friend, if it's your spouse, if they know that you love them and you've been intentional with that love, okay? I'm not just talking about, hey, I said I love you today. I'm like, man, I have done A, B, C, and D. I feel really confident that I've loved you well. But now I need to tell you something that's kind of hard or hurtful.
Yeah.
It's so much easier because you've got all this evidence of love. that covers that sin, right?
Yeah.
Love covers a multitude of sins. But I know that when I don't feel super loved, because maybe we've been in a hard week or he hasn't been around, whatever the thing is, then feedback just feels like more hurt on top of it.
Yeah, that's good.
So I feel like that's another practical thing is that making sure the tank is full before you.
I love that. I was talking with a friend this week about like just our schedules and our, how we operate throughout the day. What does our day look like? And I told her, I said, for Mason and I, it is so important that Mason's love language is quality time. So for him, but for me too, like it is so important that we spend time together every single day. So I said, we've set some parameters in our day. We put our kids to bed between 7:30 and 7:45 every single day. And from that point on, throughout the night, like we are together for the rest of the night. We're in our room, we're watching TV, we're watching a movie, we're talking. We usually will talk for over an hour, just like about the day or anything. But it's like, I know that if I don't hear from Mason or we're just doing different things throughout the day, I know that there's a time of day, and it's going to be at the end of today, that I'm going to see him and I'm going to spend time with him. Yeah. So there's consistency there. So I know like there's going to be time that we get to spend together. And, I told him, I said, there are times when like I would rather watch something different, or I'd rather read, or I'd rather do my own thing. But like I know how good it is for us just to come together and be together at the end of every day. And so I'm willing to sacrifice those other things.
And sometimes it's just communicating that. Like,
exactly.
I would rather read my book, but if you want to watch the show, I'm saying I will watch the show.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're going to play on your phone anyway, then can we just sit together?
Sit together, exactly. But I think too, like you just said, like let's just talk about it. Like, not everything don't assume. Don't assume.
Yeah, man, don't assume. I get stuck there sometimes.
Oh, I do too. Don't assume. Just talk about it.
Yeah.
So that's how we do that.
And I was thinking about something. We've talked about culture, I think, before within our homes. And so I know for Mike and I, our relationship has been a lot more strained or tumultuous. I don't know, like that's just been always, and we both come from divorced homes, so you're kind of always battling that, and I think I've mentioned that before. But I know for Mike and I, we set the culture as we are not getting a divorce because we know what that looks like. So like you said about resolving for peace, we're kind of resolving that like we might have conflict, and we might not be always like, wow, this marriage is so fulfilling. Like, no, it's not always, but regardless, like, we're going to be chain breakers.
Yeah.
So that's the culture we set. We're chain breakers. Yeah. We might not get along perfectly. We might have all these issues, but we are not getting a divorce because that was what happened to us. So we're chain breakers. That's our culture. And I feel like for you and Mason, it's continuing that legacy that you guys carry. And that's really important too. And it's different for every marriage because you can get so caught up in it doesn't look like that marriage. And my marriage doesn't look like that marriage. And we're all just meant to reflect a little bit of God's nature within that relationship.
Yeah.
And it can be different.
Yeah, I think that's what I always have to I talk about perspective all the time because it's always on my mind. Like, okay, really, why are Mason and I together? It's like what I said, when we can show people the love of the Lord together, like that's showing the love of God with his children. That is the point of marriage. Like, the point of marriage is to show the love of God for his church, for his bride. So when we come together, like, and I think that it's really easy to say, like, you're just not doing it for me anymore. Like, you're not fulfilling this place in me that I thought you were supposed to fulfill in me. But if you realize, like, that's not the purpose of your spouse. It's not to fulfill the empty place or the hole or the void. That can only be filled by the love of the Lord. Like, that is the only thing by God. But when you realize, like, the point of your marriage is to show people what the love of God is. It's unconditional.
Yeah.
We're different. Boy, are we different from God. But still, like, he calls us his bride. And so, he celebrates that we're different. He created us differently. Yeah. And so when you think about your marriage, it's like, what are you doing for the kingdom of God together? Like, that's the point of having children. Are you raising Jesus followers? We get so caught up in like, well, he's not what he once was. She's not as skinny as she once was. Like, I don't feel the same way with him, but it's like, that at some point, that's a reflection of your relationship with the Lord.
Yep.
He's not doing it for you anymore. And it's not your spouse's fault.
Yeah.
And the good thing about that is like, it's a pretty easy fix. Like, I mean, spending time with the Lord is the fix.
Yeah.
Going back to your first love, which is the Lord, is the fix. And so then when you're so crazy about like what the Lord's doing in your own life, like, you know, because at the same time, you're two individuals.
Yeah.
You're different.
Yeah.
With different giftings, different personalities. You're not meant to like mesh everything together.
Yeah.
But then, you know, the whole point is like, okay, well, how do we raise children in a home that glorifies the Lord? How do we make financial decisions that are honoring to God? You know?
Yeah.
You know, so I think that it's good to, you know, to know like your differences are good. You don't need to try and become the same person. Celebrate them. Know that, like I think about Mason, a lot of my weaknesses, he is strong in those places and vice versa. And so I know that we're really able to work better together for the kingdom of God in that.
Yeah, and marriage is not to make us happy. It's to make us more holy. And so if you think about it that way, the person that you spend the most time with, the person, you've actually become one with them.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be grinding within that.
Yeah.
But it's also to make you reflect more of Jesus and to like show that love that you were talking about. And you know, I think one thing we always miss out on with love is that it endures all things.
Yeah.
It does hope and it does, you know, it's patient and it's kind and it's all those good things, but it's tough. Like,
it is.
Love is tough.
It is.
And we need to put more of a toughness in our love with our spouse and just say, I'm just committed to this.
Yeah.
Because I'm committed to the Lord. Because, I mean, He's a part of that covenant also. And so I try to always consider God's perspective as much as I'm considering Mike's. So there's actually 3 opinions or 3 perspectives that I'm considering in any moment with Mike. I'm also taking in the Lord's.
Yeah.
And so often when I'm frustrated with Mike, if I really sit down and ask the Lord about it, He'll often reveal something within my own heart.
Yeah.
Because the antidote when I'm struggling to love Mike is not to withdraw. It's actually to love more.
Yeah.
The antidote is more love.
To lean in.
More
Keep
love
going.
and more love and more love. You can't overdose on love.
Yeah.
And I had to really ask myself, what is that love? When I'm saying I love you, can I really list out all the ways I love him?
Yeah.
Like actual detailed list, you know, and if I'm having trouble there, if I can't think of something, that's on me. And I need to sit down and really talk to the Lord about that. And so I think... You know, and like I loved what you said about the fulfilling part because marriage isn't meant to fulfill us. And I wanted to speak to that for a minute because I know a lot of couples that when their relationship with the Lord, when your vertical relationship is off, all of your horizontal ones will be off. Yeah. And so I think a lot of times we put people as idols. We actually count what they say and what they think. Spending time with them has now become more valuable than what God says and God thinks and time with Him.
Well, because your voice I can hear audibly right now.
Yeah.
And it's very loud, and I understand it clearly. The voice of the Lord is not always that way. You have to be aware of it. You have to know it. So that's when I'm like, I could take what Darby says about me. I'll take it to the bank. I believe it because I can hear what she's saying. I trust her. I believe her. But, you know, it's not always that way with the Lord. Sometimes you have to discern, like, what is He saying? Do I recognize His voice? Do I know what He's saying? But I think you're right. Like, when it comes to relationships, you know, there's FaceTime there.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's hard when I just know that it's just so imperative that the time spent with the Lord is first. And it makes literally everything else so much easier.
Everything's so much easier.
And better.
So, you know, Mike and I have a boundary of my quiet time, you know, and I've said this, but he knows that's my hour with the Lord, and that doesn't, nothing can take that.
Yeah.
Not even him. I mean, emergencies, sure, whatever. I'm not religious about it, but I'm just saying that's number one for me, and he knows that and respects that.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important because he knows that if I don't do that, and vice versa, it will affect every other thing.
Well, and you just know that Darby with spending time with the Lord is going to be a better Darby for, you know, for everybody. And that goes for all of us. So I just know, and I know too, you know, I can tell, a big difference when we both are seeking the Lord individually.
Yeah.
You can tell a big difference just in your relations with one another, with the way that you speak with one another, the way that you're affectionate with each other. Like it's so different. And it's so much better than when you're kind of in a stale place with your relationship with the Lord. It's like it reflects, like you said, it reflects everything horizontally. And there's nothing worse than just feeling like so blah with your spouse.
I know. And Mike and I, he hates when I say this to him, but I always say, babe, you be the best version of you, and I'll be the best version of me, and together we'll be the best.
Yeah.
As a couple.
That's what crazy.
And he used to always go, I don't want to go be the best version of me. You know, like he just hated it. So cliche. But that's the truth. So whether you're single, whether you're dating, and I tell this to my boys in their relationships, like, don't bring half yourself and expect the other person to fill up the other half of you. Bring your whole, healthy, best self.
That's right.
And it will make the difference, because you're going to expect the same of the person you're with, and you're both trying to level up with the Lord and to look more like Him.
Yeah,
and so
that's good.
We got to be the best versions of ourselves, but we need the Lord to do it.
Yeah. Let's end there. That's good.
That's so good. So go be the best versions of yourself.
Okay.